We're back. We're back for more fun. Let's hit it. 1, 2, 3, go. What's up, everybody? Launch TV, Jeff Pilkington here with more Mandela Effects. First off, if you're liking my videos, please be sure to just subscribe below or like the videos. Feel free to comment. I always like to give feedback. I like to hear from you guys. I want to talk about these, see what people think about the Mandela Effect. We have had a large sum of opinions so far. Everybody has their own thoughts on it. I've given my thoughts, but it's fun nonetheless because we all like talking about it and we all like trying to figure out what is going on. With that said, today we have 8 Mandela Effects. Yes, that's right, 8. Lots more. It's 2019. We're into late April. Let's get going. The first one that I wanted to discuss is the Razzle Dazzle Ships. Now, in World War I, there apparently were what's called Razzle Dazzle ships. They were also known as Dazzle Ships. And what happened was the English and the US, pretty much everyone was using these ships as a form of camouflage. But it was camouflage that was meant to confuse rather than conceal. So it was meant to confuse people within the war so that they couldn't actually see the ship. It caused when they were aiming to not be able to line up the sight correctly. And so this was used as a strategy. And it actually, lots of ships were actually used and designed this way. There was one called the SS West Mahomet in 1918 that had dazzle camouflage on it. There's an artist's conception of a U-boat commander's periscope view of a merchant ship in dazzle camouflage, which is on the left, and then in the same ship, uncamouflaged, on the right. The conspicuous markings obscure the ship's heading. So you can see a ship in the graphic from 1922. You can see how it was a zebra-looking thing, and then it was blank. Now, I mean, literally, if you look at more of these photos, it looks like a giant zebra in the water. Like they were literally using these ships, a lot, and people don't remember these in history. Like, people don't remember the Razzle Dazzle ships ever really existing. A few people have heard of them. They were all painted a little differently. It depended on the type of ship. So there was like the frigate, there was the destroyer. Different ships were named different things. Now, one other thing that people have brought up is if these Razzle Dazzle ships really existed, why haven't we haven't even seen them in any of the movies? They haven't been in the movies, and there's been a lot of movies with World War I and beyond. They were even used in World War II as well, but we haven't seen them in the movies. So why did these Razzle Dazzle ships suddenly appear in history? There was even the Titanic's sister, the HMT Olympic RMS ship, was actually covered in it at one point. They covered the Titanic's sister ship in Razzle Dazzle. It was in service as a troop ship around September 1915. So they even covered the Titanic's sister ship in Razzle Dazzle. That is just crazy. I mean, this Norman Wilkinson painting of one literally looks like a zebra's head going through the water. Like, you would have been on an island or on the shore and you would have seen a giant zebra head sailing through the water. That seems a little strange. Anyway, I don't remember the Razzle Dazzle ships. I don't remember learning about them. Do you? Let me know. That's the first one. What else do we got? Second one, Romeo and Juliet. I mentioned this one before. There was never a balcony in Romeo and Juliet. It was a window. If you go back and look at the actual stage play, there was not a balcony. It was a window. What do you remember? Because it's always been a window. Now, they've reenacted it as a balcony in some, but in the original Romeo and Juliet, it was always a window. Do you remember balcony or window? It's always been a window. I remember reading Romeo and Juliet, and I could have sworn it was a balcony, so it seems strange to me. It's number 2. Number 3, the famous Mike Tyson Evander Holyfield fight. Do you guys remember this fight? What happened during the fight? What happened during the fight was Mike Tyson bit Evander Holyfield's ear twice. Not once, twice. He bit Evander Holyfield's ear. Now, the fight actually continued after the first bite, and then after the second bite, the ref disqualified Tyson and gave the bout to Holyfield. But people remember things being a little bit differently. What people remember is him biting his ear and him like spitting it out, and it was graphic. People remember it being like this graphic scene with like the bit chunk of ear on the mat, and that they actually, stopped the fight, and then it was more dramatic than that. However, recent enactment, actually after the first fight, the fight continues. Now the ref eventually disqualified him. They remember it being more dramatic. He bit his ear, spit it out, blood everywhere, and the fight stopping right then. And what's happened in the current reality is the fight just continued. He bit him a second time, and then the ref disqualified him and gave a fight to Holyfield. Do you remember the bite being more dramatic? Because it was never on TV. They didn't even show it. They didn't show the ear. They didn't show anything dramatic with the bite. Do you remember it being more dramatic? People remember seeing that on TV, it being very bloody and messy and dramatic. What do you remember? Because it's changed. It's more simple, and you don't see all the drama anymore. There's no record of that. That's the second one. The third one, Capricorn Astrology. Anybody a Capricorn sign? I'm a Leo. Of course I'm a Leo. Capricorn. People remember a goat as the Capricorn. Do you remember the Capricorn being a goat? Because it isn't. It's like this half goat, half fish. That's always been the Capricorn sign, is a half goat, half fish. Like, what do you remember there? Goat or fish? I frankly remember a goat, but it's always been a goat fish, apparently. Strange. Okay, who watched the Cubs Marlins? Gosh, the playoff game with the Cubs Marlins. I mean, how could we forget this playoff game? Do you remember what happened in the Cubs Marlins playoff game? It was the 2003 National League Championship Series, and what do you remember? There was a guy by the name of Steve Bartman, and a ball was hit down into the left field corner at Wrigley Field in Chicago. Moises Alou, the Cubs outfielder, went for the ball, and what happened? A guy named Steve Bartman stepped in the way, leading to a big inning for the Marlins, and it cost the Cubs big time. The Cubs just did not go on to win until, 2016? It was bad for the Cubs, is the bottom line. And they still claim it as the Bartman curse, because Bartman grabbed the ball in the corner and walked away. The problem is, Bartman didn't catch the ball. He never did catch the ball. He went for the ball, and it bounced, and he didn't get the ball. But people remember Bartman catching the ball, and they remember controversy after of what was Bartman going to do with the ball. Steve Bartman. Did Steve Bartman catch the ball? Let's watch the clip real quick. In the clip, you can see he didn't catch the ball, but people remember seeing him catch the ball, and they remember the aftermath in particular about what he was going to do with the ball in the aftermath, because he was receiving all these threats, there was all this drama, but Steve Bartman never caught the ball. There's no record of him catching the ball. What do you remember? Did he catch the ball, or did he not catch the ball? Hard to say. Let's see. We've got Henry Winkler, Happy Days. Do you remember the show Happy Days in the late 70s? Everybody remembers the show Happy Days. He apparently wore a jacket, and people remember the color of that jacket being black, except it wasn't. It was always brown. It was a brown jacket. The record is of it being a brown jacket. But people remember a black jacket. They remember wearing a black jacket. What do you remember? The Fonz, Happy Days, was it a black or a brown jacket? Strange. PlayStation. We all had PlayStation. PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3. How many of them were there? Anyway, in the late 90s, there was a game with monster trucks and you could destroy cars, and it was a big, fun driving game, and it was called Demolition Derby. Everybody remembers Demolition Derby. It was a lot of fun. In fact, people even remember the names of the cars, the track layouts. People remember the developer. People remember this crazy owl logo. Do you guys remember that? PlayStation, late 90s, Demolition Derby. Problem is, it wasn't called Demolition Derby. It was called Destruction Derby. Do you remember Destruction Derby or Demolition Derby? I don't remember the name of that game being Destruction Derby. That just sounds weird. It was always Demolition Derby. What happened? Who changed history there? That is very strange, because I remember Demolition Derby for sure. Let's see. As we are winding down and wrapping up, we have one more for you, which is a film in 1963 titled The Birds, Alfred Hitchcock. People remember The Birds being in black and white. The problem is, it wasn't in black and white. It was a color film. Do you remember The Birds being in color? People swear they remember Alfred Hitchcock's movie being in black and white, but it wasn't. It was always in color. Why do I have this memory of the black and white birds? And a lot of people have the memory of black and white birds, but it's always been in color. What do you remember? The birds, black and white, or color? Let me know in the comments. Thank you all. Please be sure to comment below. Let me know what you think. Please be sure to subscribe, and have a wonderful evening. I hope you enjoyed this. This is Jeff Pilkington, Launch TV. We will have more soon. Out.